on the evolutionary chain, 'cause you don't understand what this is. I guess we can't all be fly. I guess we can't all be fly. Anyway, let us move on to your questions. If you were the doctor from the United video, do you push this all the way to court or go for the out-of-court settlement? I imagine by now that all of you have seen the video of the Asian gentleman, the doctor, getting yanked up off that plane for United. United, by the way, is just putting on an absolute crash course on how to really fuck something up. I just don't think there's any way that you can look at that. Like, they were just like, at every turn, how can we find a way to make this bad? So the initial statement was, we didn't do nothing wrong. No. That absolutely should not have been your first statement. Your first statement should have been, if it ain't going to be we fucked up, your first statement needed to be, we're gathering information and we'll let you know something soon, right? Somebody needed to be out there calling Kinko's or whoever it is that you go to get them to print out one of them great big old checks. And y'all needed to show up at that man's hospital room looking like he just won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes, right? Like, you need to go find Ed McMahon, rest his soul, walking up in there with that check and just be like, yo, is there some way that we can keep this on the low between us? There absolutely has to be a way to keep this on the low between us. There has to be, right? Like, that needed to be the immediate thing. Once you saw them dragging that dude down the aisle, come on, man. You know the play. You did not need to go into there's two sides. No. You need to go into immediate, I hope that man is okay, right? But don't come with this, we didn't do nothing wrong. And that's what they started with, and that didn't work. And then it turned into this whole larger discussion of whether or not airlines should overbook flights, which I honestly thought was just the most ridiculous discussion of all, because it is very rare that you wind up on a plane that is overbooked and there's an issue with somebody having to leave the flight. It is very rare. Bottom line is, as long as people are going to be missing flights, airlines are going to overbook them. This has never really been a problem. Like, I think JetBlue doesn't do overbooking, and I suppose that that's very kind of them. But in terms of the rest of us, look, man, people miss flights. Like, all those times you get that flight and that bad boy say, get your boarding pass at the gate or whatever it is, you pretty much always wind up getting on the plane. Right? Like, that right there is like, I don't even understand how you sell more seats than is on the plane. It's not that hard to figure out. Like, I feel like a lot of people could have just stopped and broke out that good old-fashioned common sense and been like, oh, okay, this makes sense. The problem they had here, though, was not that the flight was overbooked, because the flight proved to not be overbooked. They just wound up with these people who worked at United, and they wanted to catch themselves a flight home. And they had too many of them, and they got whatever their whatever their algorithm is to determine who it was they were going to get off the plane, because they couldn't get no volunteers. Because I imagine that on that was a Sunday flight, right? Because I imagine on a Sunday flight, it becomes difficult for you to find volunteers, because on Sunday, everybody ready to go home, right? And so they made this decision. They were going to get that dude off the plane. And whoever the cop was that yanked him out, apparently that dude was just like, look, man, I got something better to do. I'm trying to get out of here as quickly as possible. They yanked that dude up out that window seat. And look, there is barely enough room for you to just walk in those gaps in the seats. I don't know how they thought they were going to be able to pull that dude out without injuring him. Or maybe they misunderstood that the second they put their hands on that dude was like, yo, I'm about to go limp and we all going to get paid. Like, nothing good can come from me fighting this man. Let me just go ahead and get yanked out of here, because you're going to have a hard time convincing me that man absolutely could not, like, get himself up and walk off the plane after they got him on the ground. Nah, brother, that was a business decision. Y'all go ahead and drag me out. I bet he got a hell of a carpet burn right there on the base of his lower back. I bet he got that thing, man. But they pulled him out of there. That man went to the hospital. He got some Chicago lawyers, which is the smart move. Because you got to think about this. If you get into an issue with United and you're in Chicago, good luck, right? Because, I mean, United is one of the biggest businesses in the city. The police are absolutely going to be on the side of United. Like, in spite of the fact that, of course, the police have their own culpability in this, but the police are absolutely going to be on the side of United, because the police are going to be on the side of what? Local commerce. right? They are going to ride for local commerce. So they're on that side. The local paper, in all likelihood, is going to ride again for local commerce, keeping in mind that the passenger that we're talking about doesn't live in Chicago. He doesn't live in Chicago. So you got all the enemies in the world. Nah, man, you need to go get the most expensive lawyer you can find in Chicago. Somebody who knows the local terrain. And now the world is his oyster. Because United got to find one way or another to make this thing right. And what you're going to find is this will never go to court. It's going to be an out-of-court settlement. And that man's going to get whatever the money is that he needs. And now, if I'm him, to answer the original question, which is, do you push this to court or do you go for the out-of-court settlement? You absolutely want to go for the out-of-court settlement. Like the settlement is what you want. It saves you time and you ain't got to go through depositions and all that stuff. Okay, cool. On top of that, the last thing United wants to do is go in there and sit down for a deposition. The last thing any of them want to do is have to sit down under oath and have to talk about not just what happens here, but what happens any other time and what their policies are and how no, they don't want no parts of this. So the out-of-court settlement is always the game because the trial is not pleasant. And, you know, if they go to a trial, they're going to bring up all that man's business out there. They already got him.